Hello, good evening. I'm very happy to be in your home tonight. This is TVXYZ, and the program is Ideas Exchange. Will come your way every Wednesday between 8 and 9 p.m. Tonight, our conversation will be very exciting because it will be in a stress-free zone. It will help you to appreciate one critical industry in this country which has vast opportunities, which remains largely untapped, which remains largely unsupported. So few individuals are brazing all the odds, and they are making some gains and they have stories to tell. But before I introduce my guest, I want us to look at two critical issues that appear to be resonating with what many describe as the worrying trends in this country. It appears every week something very annoying happens in this country. Something that triggers more anger, something that makes much more Ghanaians lose confidence in those who are managing affairs. This week, it is the National Cathedral. Unfortunately, the news out there is that the project has stalled because government lacks funds. The fear is that this government may not, and in fact, many people believe that it will not be able to complete this National Cathedral project. And the history of politics and governance in this country clearly shows that should the NPP lose the 2024 elections, and everything is pointing out there that they will definitely be booted out because the anger in the system and some of the polls that have been conducted suggest that it is not going to be good for them in 2024. Which would mean that much of the money sunk into the National Cathedral project would have gone waste. Don't forget, hundreds of millions of cedis have been illegally given to the Secretariat. We know that bungalows have been pulled down. These were bungalows which were assigned to appeals court judges. In fact, when government decided to destroy these new bungalows, some of them were built as early as 2015. When they were being pulled down, we understand that at least one appeals court judge resigned in protest. I can imagine how much money was spent to look for residences for these judges and their families up till the time government was able to put some facilities together for them to live in. Don't forget about the procurement breaches. And don't forget that beyond the bungalows the judges were living in were the passport office. Apart from the passport office, we also had the scholarship secretariat, among several other facilities, including private ones, which were pulled down. We also know that at least one of those private entities is mooning what we call judgment debt, and Ghana may suffer the consequences. We also know that the Ghana chiefs had been to the Supreme Court. The argument was that the land was leased to the state for a different purpose. And if they were going to use it for the National Cathedral project, then compensation should be paid. We know the Supreme Court in its ruling said that even if government has not paid them, in due course they will be paid. I am just wondering, should this National Cathedral project fall flat, and there are signs that it may not get the light of day, the Ghana chiefs may resurrect this controversial issue and anything can happen. One thing that bothers me is the sycophancy. Pastors who must be speaking truth to power. Pastors who should be thinking about the average poor who need hospital beds, the average poor who need books or furniture in their rural communities. We're bootlicking, we're trying to seek favor in the face of mankind instead of doing something that will please God. I'm just wondering how many of them will feel today. Several of them were whipped to use hard-earned sweat of congregants in the name of collection and paid to the Secretariat. It became a competition who will pay the biggest contribution to the Secretariat. Yet their congregation were suffering. Today, with this project stalled, what will they be saying now? again, there is everything that suggests that public confidence in this project has waned because of how things have been revealed and the worrying trends that people have followed. And this week, there's another controversial issue that has been in the public space. That is about the judicial service and the integrity they must carry. Some time ago, it was the NDC General Secretary who raised this at a press conference. People looked on. The National Security Minister also raised it, and this time he spoke directly to judges. People looked on again. And over the weekend, the former president has raised it again. And what is even more worrying is the Auditor General's report, which shows that judges who must be people of conscience, who should know that things done that shortchange the state, that does not raise enough money into the state basket for public good, and they were using this small amounts of money to buy Land Cruisers and other luxury vehicles, some registered as late or as early as 2018, should be worried that with all these narratives suggesting that their conscience can be questioned and whether what they are doing is in the interest of the perceptions people have about them, they should be worried today. And last but not the least is the General Legal Counsel. They should be thinking about the development. I'll stop here. I don't want us to be stressed this evening. And so tonight, we want to talk about the clothes and fashion industry. I believe if you go to any heavily populated area in this country or in the world, or you go to central business districts, you see many people moving about. God has made mankind in such a way that everybody will eat and everybody will wear clothes. But what type of clothes do you wear? I was reading some literature and I was tempted to believe that the white man always looking into the future may have influenced us in one way or the other to follow their style of dressing. And that today is what has not made the fashion and clothing industry very attractive in our part of the world. I'll share some few statistics with you, and you'll be very surprised to hear or to learn that in our industry, Ghana has been doing some imports, and I'll share that one with you. Value of imported clothing into this country, as far as 2020 is concerned, stood at 182 million cedis, becoming the first largest importer of used clothing in the world. And I'm talking about Ghana. In 2020, used clothing was the 16th most imported product in Ghana. Ghana imports used clothing primarily from the United Kingdom, China, Canada, South Korea, and Poland. In 2019, Ghana's top partner countries in textiles and clothing were almost the same countries I've mentioned, and I'm this time adding Vietnam. The highest value of the commodity import was registered in 2011 as much as $356 million. The lowest was in 2002. And overall, there was an increase in the import value of textiles and clothing in the country within a period under study. Tonight, I want to speak to somebody who has been in this industry for some time. He's making strides. He's a young man or an old man or a young old man. You get to know why. He's called Kofi Gold Kofi. You are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Are you a young man or you are an old man?
Of course, I like the introduction. I'm in between. Actually, I'm in my 40s. So
okay.
So maybe you can tell who I am.
Then you are a young man.
Of course, I'm a young man.
Life begins at 40.
Life begins at 40.
So you are following me.
Of course, yes.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's look at you. When I was reading your profile, I learned that you were working somewhere before you joined the industry. You were the former director of Domata Ministry Training School. Today, you are the CEO of Kofi Gold Clothing. You are also a director at Kofi Gold Charity. We'll go into them. What provoked you or may have attracted you into this industry?
Well, once again, thank you very much, and good evening to our listeners. And actually, the question is very interesting. Well, I was a former director of the Master Ministers Training School, and a lot happened. Sometimes we call something a passion. Yeah. When the drive of the passion is there, sometimes you can't talk about what really pushes you. And when you see the future of things that have to be done, you can't talk about what really pushes you. And when you see the need of the people, and then you see yourself capable of providing a helping hand or solving some basic problem, we can't talk about what really pushes you. So I think putting all these three things together have a role to play in what really made me join the fashion fraternity.
Right. So let's look at the industry generally. When we talk about textiles and the fashion industry, how big is it, or how do you compare our industry to other countries?
Well, when it comes to textile and fashion industry, as long as we have human beings, which none of us can go naked on the streets, it simply means that it's big. Ghana, as we know, we are 32 million. I call it adults, including children, to be more than that. If each and everyone will consider himself being clothed by a Ghanaian, it's as big as you can imagine. It's as big as something that can transform and translate life in a better way for every Ghanaian who have chosen that industry. So it's a very big industry, very, very big industry.
Now, if you look at the value chain, it looks even more exciting. So this industry is huge. You have the manufacturers, you have the designers, you have the marketers, you have those who are into putting the finishing product together, and then those who are employed there. Now, let's look at Ghana critically. When we talk about this industry, but give us a better overview of what really goes into it, because sometimes you see the seamstresses or the tailors or people who are into large-scale manufacturing, perhaps like you, and we put all these together under one umbrella. But I believe that when you talk to experts like you, you can give us a better picture of the situation here.
Yeah, very well, as well said. The industry, number one, is big. I think the challenge we face with in our part of the world is that we don't see the diversity of personalities in the business to be given the rightful position or category when it comes to putting people together. Right. As you said, we have Tailors and Dressmakers Association. Of course, we have a Seamstress Association. We have Clothes Designers Association. Right. Sometimes people have the general idea that as long as you're making clothes, then you all fall under one umbrella of making maybe Tailors or Dressmakers Association. But I can tell you it's not the right thinking. Because for you to become a designer, it takes more energy, more strength, more input. I mean, it takes more than what you can imagine just to be a tailor. You can be a designer without being a tailor. Of course, you create, which brings out unique design, which tailors end up to follow, to duplicate, or to learn from, or to take it as a job, profession, to create opportunity for them. So we have the designers, we have the tailors, we have the seamstress. And I believe if we begin to see this opportunity, this diversity in the clothing industry, it will help us.
Now, we'll go into those details.
Yeah.
And as we are speaking, you'll see some pictures on the screen. I took these pictures from Kofi Gold when I was trying to bring him here. We'll speak to some of these things and whether indeed it is gaining that market share that we talk about. But as far back as 2003, when you wanted to join industry, did you get people speaking to you like, oh, what are you going to do there? Maybe you were not trained traditionally as somebody who is going to go into fashion design. How did you manage that change, that shift from what you were doing into a gray area?
Well, as a matter of fact, 2003 was there. It could be a capturing from where it started, right? But let's say 2000. it was just a genesis of everything altogether. It was a history that you can always remember. I mean, just talking to people about the new initiative you want to take, especially I was a country director for Dumatas Ministers Training School, living in 7-bedroom bungalow, you know, living a very well...
7-bedroom bungalow?
7-bedroom house. I mean, living GMPC flat, well-renowned personalities in the community. I mean, it's a place that when you leave, you feel at home. And people see you and they salute you, like a military man in a uniform without knowing his title, but you still give him a salute, right? When I chose or made the decision to go into fashion, it was really a hell because I never get any thumbs up. Everybody feel, why do you leave all this luxurious, what they call luxury, and jump into something you're going to learn? And I think there's a challenge. We see these opportunities, these jobs, as jobs that belong to some class of people. Everything is about condemnation. Everything. I mean, you won't even believe it. I have people, prophets, who prophesy God say no.
You should not go there.
Of course. And I told them they should tell God I'll go there. Trust me, I'm that type.
Was there something attractive there that was pushing you to leave this environment to where you wanted to go?
The truth of the matter...
A vision that you didn't know where it will end.
It wasn't anything attractive. I don't feel fulfilled when I was working in the corporate world. That is a secret about me.
But many young men today want to go into the corporate world.
Never. Not me again. And I will never even advise my child to go in the corporate world. Never.
Why?
There's nothing there. I don't feel fulfilled. I sit in a big office. Every week I host big guys from the US. I eat in all restaurants. You know, Shangri-La was there. All the big restaurants. You name it.
And you left it?
I left it. And at the time of leaving, trust me, I wasn't even having a penny to rent a room. I mean, it was like everybody thinks I'm on drugs. Or maybe some devil have hitted me. You know, if we come to the religious friend.
The fantasy will say, because you are living in a 7-bedroom house and you want to go into, somebody will say dressmaking, because that's the general perception you spoke about.
Of course.
So 2003, at that time, what was the industry like? Because maybe it will not be like today where it is easy to just order things about.
2003, by then, trust me, I did not even consider how the industry is like. I was just following my passion. I didn't even consider. I didn't even take note. It had nothing to do with my business. All you have to do is just follow my passion. I just want to get it. It's like you want to get there. Whatever you do to get to that place, just do it.
So how did you start it?
Anyway, so when it happens, I have a usual lifestyle I always adopt. I have something I do at the quiet time I walk. I go to work and think about my lifestyle and think about what to do. Some people call it prayer walk. I normally call it thinking walk.
The way you are talking sounds like you were bred from a good home. Because some of us Ijabas, we don't have time to go and walk around.
No, I'm not the type of person.
But you sound like everything was so easy, and so you didn't care. Have you struggled before in life?
I'm even struggling now. Trust me. But do you know one thing? I'm the first person to motivate somebody who is struggling, to tell him, hey, we can make it. Let's keep going. I grew up as a human being who doesn't want to make negativity exist in my world.
You are positive.
Every second. I don't care what you tell me. Before you, the pastor, the prophet, will tell me, I'm already there. Because life is for us to believe.
And in fact, this is very inspirational for many young people who are looking up to somebody to give them hope. Because my first conversation with Kofi Gold inspired me. I'm older than him, but I felt that this is a man full of adrenaline that drives positivity. Now, we're talking about 2003 as you started it. So how did you roll out gradually?
Well, before I resigned from the American company, this is what I did. I started learning the trade. But it was very interesting. When I got there, the owner of the school looked at me because I was well dressed, and he looked at me and said, are you sure you want to learn this? I said, yes, I want to learn it, but I'm going to do part-time. I'll come at night. From record bungalows to Atomic Down. Trust me, there are times I don't have transport.
You walk.
I walk to atomic down, and when I'm coming, the little I have, I pick it. But my institution never knew I'm taking a new decision. I've done that many times. Many times. Sometimes I walk as late as 9 p.m. You know where, atomic down.
And at that time it was a forest belt.
It's a forest belt. And it's risky. But because in my world I don't believe in negativity, I trust I'm coming. And I walk with confidence, with the energy to my destination. And there'll never be a time regret. I feel like I'm going after something. And I'll get there.
So this industry has to do with clothes, has to do with creative people who do the designs. You have to do with marketing, demand, here and there. In 2003, I believe Ghana's textile industries were very active. Could it be a contributory factor that made the industry a bit more soft to enter compared to today?
Well, if you said very active, it could be active in other sector. I quite remember after completing the training from the school, I went to Japon Textile, to ask them if they can produce a specific textile I want to have. It was white elephant. So how active it is? It's active only on dependent. It's not active on production, homemade production. So if you say it's active, maybe a Ghanaian want to see Ghanaian companies thrive, want to see Ghanaian industries on the forefront. If you tell me it's active, is it active that people bring it from other countries, whereby all the hard currency go? Or it's active that we able to produce our own production? For our designers here to be able to say, look, I'm using Ghanaian made fabric to create something for a Ghanaian and for the international community. It could be active. We're still active now because we still depend on the foreign. It should be active when we see, because immediately I graduated, the first place I went to Japon Textile, and I met a very good manager. He told me through the compound. I got a 9, I left a 3. Absolutely white elephant. Absolutely, because my passion and the dream is to make sure the Ghanaian becomes self-sufficient. In my small corner. I'm not thinking that maybe I can do the big, but in my world, I choose to become.
We will look at Coffee Gold and some of your success story, but I'll share a small video while the conversation goes on. It will show you a typical busy or central business district within any part of this country, and that's Accra. Now, if you look at the picture or the video that is playing, I believe that the thousands of people walking there are all wearing clothes. And I can tell you that 70, 80, 90% of them are not wearing things designed here. Does it hurt you?
It's going to be unhurt. It's going to be unhurt because I strongly believe we have the ability to clothe those people we are seeing there. I may be doing for a certain class of people. Somebody will be doing for that class of people we see. That's what we say. I may be doing for a certain class, which, yes, of course, when it goes to the global world, that we have a standard of creative designers, fashion designers, but still, they make sure they clothe the least people, which create job for people. It really beyond hurt.
Now, let's look at the industry again, and this time, I want you to walk me down the lane of what goes into the processes and the categories of people or job opportunities that this industry creates. So we use Coffee Gold as a typical example.
Okay.
When you mention Coffee Gold, what does it mean to the average person who is interested into fashion?
Well, Coffee Gold is a household name. It's a fashion company. In itself, we are into a very intensive clothes making to make sure a Ghanaian stand tall, look good, look great. Not just that, to put a smile in the face of people.
So that's the overview, but I want us to go a little deeper. What kind of people have you engaged? What kind of people you reflecting the industry are involved in the distribution processes, the marketing processes, the production processes? What category of people do you engage? And are they readily available? Are institutions churning them? Or it is rather the individuals, the seamstresses, the tailors who are doing their individual things, who are bringing out the best products?
Well, looking at that is a whole thing to go. When it comes to institution producing those personalities, it's another thing, another discussion at its own self for us to look at. But I look at it in the way that we have our own traditional training sections, which really provide us workers for us to be able to use them to, we perfect them to produce to our manufacturing standard. And looking at that too is one thing. It's our traditional way of production, right? And we try to bring in some few from the technical institutions. Now it become technical universities, which they have obtained some knowledge about it. When it comes to distribution aspect, as you said, we have a few who have marketing knowledge. We coach them because it's good to obtain the book knowledge. But the truth is that when